Good evening. This is Melinda with the International Women's Motorsports Association, and you are listening to Women in Motorsports. Welcome to the show tonight, and I'm excited to have my guest, Stacy Doris. I met Stacy over the weekend. We hung out for a little while, and I was so blessed to meet her and her family, and they shared their shade with me, which was awesome because it was super hot where we were at. I went to Sycamore Speedway on Saturday night and got to meet Stacy and her family, her sister, and some other really awesome women that race there at Sycamore Speedway. And Stacy's the points leader there. And I stayed and watched the races from the grandstand, and she was 3 for 3 in the racing on Saturday night. So no better person to have on our show tonight than her. So Stacy, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, Stacy, I want to have you tell our audience a little bit about yourself, your family, that kind of thing, and then tell us a little bit how you got started in racing.
Okay. I've been racing for 18 seasons, so 18 years since I was 16. My dad got us started right after we got our driver's license. My mom wasn't happy about it, but Dad was all. So I raced the last 16 years in the Powder Puff division, which was all females. I raced a season at Rockford Speedway with women, which was all my daughter currently is racing. My husband races. My sister. We all just love racing.
I know you do, because to be there on a 95-degree night, you have to love it, right?
Yes, sweating,
and then the dirt sticks to the sweat, and then you go home and you take a cold shower and everything's better because it was really hot and humid. But you guys were smart. You had your shade and you had your hydration, your drinks, and so that was great. And I had such a good time visiting with you and your family. So 18 years is a long time to be in a race car. So why don't you tell us how you started, like what kind of car did you start in, and what kind of success have you had leading up to this year?
We've always raced 4-door Caprices / Impalas, kind of what I have now. That's been the only thing until I've raced compact cars too. Like I've had the same Neon since 2008 that we just got rid of 2 years ago. So it's always been the 4-door Caprice. But before I was in just an all women's class, and I've won 5 championships in that class. And after the 5th one, I thought maybe we should try something different because it's time. It's time to move it. So I started in the pure stock division in 2016, and I think I finished 4th for that season, and last year I finished 3rd. So this year I wanted to do even better. Yeah. You there?
I can't hear you.
Not anymore?
There, now I can hear you again.
Okay. Did you get all of that?
So what's your goal for this year?
I want to do better than 3rd last year. I mean, I'm always hoping for the championship, but things happen. So I'm hoping to do 2nd or better.
Okay. And tell me where are you now in the standings? I can't hear anybody. Oh.
I'm back.
Can you hear me
You there?
now, Stacy?
I see you.
Okay.
You're kind
So
of
frustrating.
blurry. There you are.
Okay, Stacy, can you hear me at all?
I can hear you. You're just very pixelated.
Can you see me or not? I don't know what's going on. It's like rain is affecting my internet. Sorry about that. So that's the video. Is sometimes the internet isn't the best thing. So right now, is that correct?
What's that?
Are you leading points now?
Yes.
Okay. So tell me, how have you done?
I've won every We've had 4 nights so far. I've won all 4 of the features. And last week, my sister beat me in the trophy dash and the heat race. Otherwise, I've won everything else.
Right. Her name is Star, and I told you that you had your sister, which was okay.
Yeah.
You won the heat race, and you barely squeaked out the feature. Tell us a little bit about that race.
Well, that race was the best race of the season so far because Matt and I were going. Uh-oh. Sorry. Matt and I were side by side almost that entire race. I would get him down the straightaways, but when we came to the corner, he would just get an edge on me, just barely. And that last lap pass, I thought for sure I was done and he was going to win. Crazy. I didn't know who the winner was until like we sat down in victory lane waiting because it was that close. I couldn't tell if it was me or if it was him.
Yeah, it was super close race. I think it was inches, would you say?
For sure.
Yeah, but wow, it was exciting. And the fans were really cheering you on. Do you realize how many fans you have in the stands?
Not always.
Oh, there were a lot. There were a lot all around me, and they had a good crowd the other night, and I could hear them all over the place cheering you on. So, yeah, it's a different perspective when you're in the stands, obviously. So I wanted to share that with you. So, 18 years ago, I'm not going to make you tell how old you are, but what got you actually interested and started? Your dad was racing, is that right?
Yeah, my dad was racing when we were really young, like 4 or 5. He stopped for years. Went back. I was like in 8th grade. He started racing on and off again, and then continued for a little while. And then when me and Star turned 16, that was it. We had cars ready, waiting, and off we went. He literally just sent us out there, like,
Really?
just go. Yeah.
Yeah. That's I met your dad. He's a cool guy. And so he just said, okay, you got your driver's license, obviously. You go run on the track. Is that the old you had to be 16 before you could race at your track?
Yeah, you had to have a driver's license.
Okay. All right. So nowadays, obviously, we know you can be way younger than that and race at a track.
Mm-hmm.
So who helps you with your car on race night?
This year it's different. I'm driving for a really good friend of my dad's. He got me this car this winter, and in January called me one night and he was like, "Hey, you know that car I bought?" And he goes, "You're driving it." So I didn't know I was getting a new car. I just figured I was staying in the car I had last year, which is the car my sister's driving this year. So on race nights, he's there almost every night. There's some nights he's going to be off, but he's there every night, making sure it's 100%, filling it with the gas, checking the tires. And then my dad's there too. Like, so it's my dad's. I have a dad's team.
Yeah, sounds like it. Your biological dad and your adopted dad, right?
Right.
Exactly. And then your sister was there and her boyfriend and then you have else in your family, don't you, that's either racing or going to start racing?
My daughter raced last season and she'll continue this season in June. And then eventually my son probably will too, but we'll give that some time.
Yeah, he's still interested in playing in the dirt. So maybe when he gets a little older, he'll be ready to race.
Yeah.
So Stacy, do you have any marketing partners on your car besides, I know, of course, the guy that owns it is doing a lot for you, but
That's Jimmy Loomis from Loomis Motorsports. He built the car, the motor, everything. That's all his. We have Burritoville. It's a little taco place in DeKalb. And Country Automotive. They helped with tires this year. They bought me new tires. And if I ever need anything, they're always there just to hook us up with whatever.
that's awesome. So I'm going to ask you a question that has really two parts to it. What is your proudest moment and what is your most memorable moment? And they probably maybe aren't the same thing.
Oh, my proudest moment would have to be winning my 5th championship in the Powder Puff division in 2015, because that was the year that I was like, all right, it's time to do something new. Like, let's do something bigger.
Okay.
Was the proudest. My memorable would have to be in 2016 when I beat, at the time, when he was racing with us, the fastest car, the 714 of Mike Nelms.
Okay.
Last year, I beat him just a handful of times too, and then this year he had to sit the year off. So I'm not able to race with him to see if our cars are, compatible this year.
Right.
So
Well, next year maybe that'll happen.
maybe. Or
Right.
maybe Josh will get in the car. I don't know.
Okay. So what is it about racing that, why are you and your family at the racetrack on a 95-degree dusty Saturday night instead of at the movie theater where it's cool? What is it that gets you to the track for 18 years now?
It's mostly the people. It's like our family. We have a big family there. It's something we can all do together. Even though sometimes we end up arguing there, but we're always together there. Just family and the friends that we make, friends that we've had for years.
Okay. Have you raced at Sycamore pretty much all that time?
Yeah, there was a few times that I've sat out a little bit here and there. Like when I was pregnant with my son, I took that year off in 2013. And then in 2012, I raced Wednesday nights at Rockford Speedway for
Yeah, you do that. Okay.
for a season.
All right. So what is your car number and how did you choose it?
My car number is 43C. My dad used that number in 1985. And when we started racing, we got that number back and it's just stuck. So we and him shared the number because he raced when I first started. And my sister is 34C, so she's the flip of our number.
Okay.
So tradition.
Tradition, yeah. So I know there are other women and gals that race there besides you and your sister. What is it, do you have friendships with the other women or, and how does that work? Women at the track, do you kind of stick together or are you treated more just like one of the guys?
When in the women's division, it's kind of catty. Girls versus girls all the time.
Yeah.
We do have a really good friend, Mickey Runge, that is racing in that division this year. And she's one of the veterans now of that class. And then this year, there's only 3 or 4 girls in our division now. And I think we're all pretty much trying to be competitive with each other and just working on the racing and not the stuff outside of the racing, you know, the girly stuff. Like this girl did this and this girl did that.
Yeah. Yeah, I met a couple of the other girls, and there were a couple girls that weren't there the other night, but it seemed like they all had good things to say about each other. At least they said to me. And when I asked when I went to the pit gate, and I said, you know, who should I talk to? Stacy Doris knows everybody. They said she's the one you need to talk to. So that's a compliment too. That you know you've been there. People trust you. They know that you know what you're doing and that you've got good relationships. I think with all those women. I know the one race, 3 of you gals were in the same race, so that made it interesting.
Yeah.
So, do you think it's a good sport for a girl to be into or to get into? What's your thought about that? Positive, negatives about being a girl in motorsports?
Well, there's always going to be negatives because, you know, girls can't do what the guys can do. But I think I've proven some of that wrong because I've been beating all those guys.
Right.
So I think it's a good thing. My daughter's doing it. She loves it. She wants to go faster. I think there's positives and then there's negatives, not from the girl aspect, but like from other people's aspects. Like it's not for the girls. The girls shouldn't be doing it type. They're not, you know, they don't know anything, that kind of thing. Because, I mean, I don't do a lot of work on the car. I can change a tire and check stuff, but I'm not doing any of that inside stuff. Just
right. But that's where the teamwork comes in. You know, the NASCAR guy isn't changing the tires either, but it's a team deal. So it takes all of you doing your part to make you successful.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So, do you work outside the home, Stacy?
Yes, I do.
So what do your friends and your coworkers think about you leading the points at the Speedway?
My coworkers, you know, they don't really follow it. They don't ask about it really. We're there all the time. Fridays and nights. My friends have been around forever, so they know where we are. Most of the time they'll try to get out to watch at least a couple times, but now that we're getting older, we're having kids and it's a lot. It's a lot to together to go.
Right. Right. So other than racing, what are some things that you enjoy doing? I know Sycamore's a little different. They race Friday and Saturday, but winter or what do you like to do outside of racing?
I wish we could just travel anywhere. Last year we went to Florida. In like about a year ago exactly, we went to Florida and we traveled on the way there. We stopped at a racetrack and watched races somewhere different. Then we hit the beach the whole time. And just nice. Travel.
Nice. That's a good thing to do. So, how did you tell us how old your daughter was? I'm not sure.
She's 15.
She's 15. So in June she'll start racing. And what kind of class will she race in?
She'll race in the wing women division at Rockford Speedway. It's a 4-cylinder division for just the girls. It's not. They've kind of got away from like the beginner, so you can kind of do a little extra to these cars.
Okay.
Like springs and stuff. Her car used to be like pretty much just the stock car. So this year we're going to try to change it up for her to try to get her to go a little faster. She wants to be faster and competitive. So we're going to try to do that for her.
Okay. So do you have, I know you said the one guy wasn't racing this year. Is there someone that you seem to always be competitive with? Is that the guy that isn't racing this year? Or is there other people at the track that you know they're always going to race you hard?
Well, on Saturday, so far this season, it's been the number 6 car of Matt Starr, the one that I just barely beat. This year, it's been me and him all season so far. So, and there's some guys that aren't even done with their cars yet that should be coming out. Like our class seems really small right now. So hopefully those guys that were there last year get their stuff together and come back so we can be. So I have a little bit more of competition, and some of those cars, they're new to this class too. So they're just trying to get it figured out. just
Right.
like years ago.
Okay. So, is there a track that you would like to race at? Like, if you had a chance to go anywhere, is there somewhere you'd really like to run a race at?
I don't know if I'd want to race. I just want to go visit more racetracks.
Okay.
I don't know.
You
There's
have,
not
do you
that's
have one that you really want to get to see a race?
Not one in particular. I'm not picky. I've got
Okay.
quite a few. I
All
mean,
right.
as most, but I don't have a particular place. Somewhere new, anywhere new.
Yeah. So my bucket list is every NASCAR track, and
Yeah.
I've only knocked off 3 of those, so I've got a ways to go. But this summer I've got 2 more on the list. And you and I could probably travel together because my wish is to have a 5th wheel, and my husband and I travel all during the race seasons to all kinds of tracks, big tracks, little tracks, and meet people just like you that are racing at those tracks. And then live in Arizona in the winter when it's warm instead of Michigan where it's so cold. So I think there's a lot of us that want to visit other tracks and see how they're done. So, I saw different ways of how they line up after caution that they don't do at Galesburg or Kalamazoo where I watch races on a weekly basis. So it's fun to see how tracks do different things. What are some things that your track does, like maybe a special promotion night or something they do at your track that they probably maybe don't do at every track that's different?
Well, you were just there this past weekend. We do the bubblegum race for the kids, so that's something. We also do like a Power Wheels demolition derby for the kids, where the kids bring their own Power Wheels, and then they do their own thing. This year will be the second year we have the Summer Nationals Hell Tour. Last year was our very first year for that, so that's like the big thing that we have going on.
And what is that? I'm not familiar with it.
It's the not Lucas Oil, but the dirt cars, modifieds and late models that they go on that 4-week Hell Tour. So they stop at a racetrack almost every single night. So we are, I think, the 3rd night of the Hell Tour with a $10,000 purse for the dirt late models. We're pretty excited about that night.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, your races went late. They had some red flags and some flip overs, and there was a lot of excitement at the track the other night. So that was fun.
It's not normally like that either. I like after it started, like we got all those reds. I was like, oh my gosh, it's gonna be a late night. Poor Melinda, like she was like coming here for a short trip. It's gonna take a long time, and then we have them there again, and then the dirt late models too. So we have 2 more classes on top of everything we already had this past weekend.
Yeah, it was a full night of racing, which is good if you're coming to visit. That was fine for me. What is I lost my train of thought. You told me your most memorable moment. You told me your your best moment. Have you had any moments that you really don't want to remember, or some things that went wrong, and how did you handle that?
We have been very lucky to not have anything major happen. Just trying to think.
No big crashes or anything.
Not really. Nothing major. I mean,
good.
We've not finished races before, but it was just minor things, thankfully.
Right.
I can't think.
Go ahead.
I can't think of any really. I mean, we've lost tires, leading a race and that kind of thing, but nothing major, thankfully.
Yeah, that's good. So if people get on to want to find out the schedule at Sycamore, they can go to Facebook or they can go to sycamorespeedway.com and find out when you guys are going to be racing. Yep. Do you have a race page for your race team at all?
I do. My husband and my brother-in-law, they used to race full-time too, but now each one of them have kind of not. So it's basically a page of just me, but it's Doris Racing on Facebook. So if you look up Doris, it'll be basically all my stats from the weekend and stuff.
Okay, awesome. So people look that up and check out Stacy. She was amazing the other night. I was cheering her on from where I was sitting, and the people behind me were cheering her on. And boy, that last race, whew, we wondered how that was going to come out. We were glad to see that you won that.
Same.
So when you're in the car and you're neck to neck with that guy, what motivates you what do you do to get just that little bit so you win the race?
Patience for sure. I try to be so cautious and patient. I don't like to rub. I don't like to hit. I just focus on what I'm doing, because I almost lost that race on that last corner.
Mm-hmm.
Matt was right there. So I just held on to the wheel tighter and pushed my foot a little further, just hoping that we got that last inch in.
Yeah, and that's about all it was, wasn't it? It was very, very close.
Yeah, I was looking right at him as we were coming down the front stretch, hoping that I was just that far in front of him.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the announcer said you need to put a bigger bumper or something, I think he said, on your car so you win those close races. So that was cute that he said that. You know, Stacy, I was impressed with your track in that even though there were red flags and things, they were very quick about getting things done, and the racing was very clean racing most of the night. Is that normally how it goes at your track?
For the most part, yes. It's the beginning of the season, so things are still, people are still figuring cars out, and, like newbies are still learning how to drive. So, like, it's going to happen. But closer to the end of the year, things are going to get a little bit, like, people are going to get a little impatient. Things are going to start happening. So, for the most part, yes. And those bags with those Badger cars, each one had to be push started, and it took so much longer. So much.
So what classes normally run at your track?
The 4 classes on a Saturday night would be the super late models, the street stocks, the pure stocks, and the Hornets.
And then on Friday night, what do they race?
Friday nights we have a spectator class, powder puff class, a 6-cylinder class, and then a compact class.
So those are more the beginning type of classes on Friday night, and then the more experienced, it sounds like, on Saturday.
Yep.
Yeah. So I know you do a lot of other things at the track. What else do you do at the track besides racing?
I pack the track. I drive one of the pack trucks every Friday and Saturday before the races start. So they wet the track down, and then you'll see me driving one of those old pack trucks for about 45 minutes, both ways.
Yeah, I don't think those trucks have been washed off for a long time.
No, sometimes, like Friday night, then they might be washed this week. I have to check with my dad, and then they might be clean for Friday, but not for Saturday.
Right. Yeah, I know you did. And then I think, was your husband flagging?
Yes, he was flagging on Friday and Saturday night. He normally on Saturdays works on the infield in turn 3, on the radio, helping with whatever cautions, whatever happens out there normally. But he got to work the flag stand on Saturday.
So does he like the flag stand?
He loves the flag stand. He
did a really good job. I've seen quite a few flaggers in my day, and he did a really, really good job. And he was very, sometimes people are yelling yellow and the guy in the flag stand's looking somewhere else, but he did a really, really nice job. So pass that on to him.
Sure.
So Stacy, in 5 years, where do you see, what kind of car are you going to be racing then, and what's going to be your goal for the next 5 years?
I'm going to say it now, but it probably won't happen. I'd like to be, done racing at some point. I think it's time to let Lily drive and do other things outside of racing, travel more. My parents bought a brand new camper last year. Someday we would like one. Just, I don't know, traveling possibly, but we'll see. Okay.
All right. So the future of racing for you is going to be in your children then.
Yes, hopefully.
Hopefully. Yeah. Yeah, so that's a good thing because that's the history. Your dad, then you, and your sister, and then your children. So that's the way you pass it down. I talk to people all the time, and that's typically how it is. Normally, somebody doesn't just decide they're going to start racing when they're in their teens or something. They've
Right.
grown around the track just like you have.
Huh?
So I want you to tell our listeners a little bit about Sycamore Speedway and the pit area that we talked about, how different it is than any other track. Can you share a little bit about that?
Sure. Um, our pit area is grassy. We have a bunch of grass patches with gravel driveways and lots of shade trees. Um, Most places you go, they're out in the open. There's no trees. They're, concrete slabs or asphalt pits. But the outer pit area where we park is grass and shade trees. It's I love it because my kids can go out there and not be beat up by the heat. It's, family area kind of like, or you can park inside the pit area where it's just cars and trailers and no kids and right next to the racetrack.
Yeah, I pulled in there, and even where the people park, it's, I see why people get there early because there's rows of sycamore trees, and they were tailgating actually around 4 o'clock. There were two trucks of people in the parking lot, but they were under the trees. They were tailgating, had their grill out, and it was like, well, I don't normally see that when I go to a racetrack.
Yeah.
That's and I walked through the pits before I came to your spot, and it looked more like a campground with race cars
Right.
instead of travel trailers.
Right.
And I just love that about it. And even though it was hot, it made it feel cooler because it just gave that, made you feel like because you were under the trees. And like you said, most tracks it's bare and you're in the hot sun. So you're lucky to be able to be at a really super nice track like that.
We love it.
Yeah. So who are your track owners or promoters? Let's give them a shout.
Tiffany Olson and Brett Therese, they're the ones that are normally promoting. Tiffany's the general manager, and Brett is the promoter. He's also the guy that runs the tractor. He's the guy that's, doing this during the week. Same with Tiffany. And then they're all family, brother, sister, their mom. Like, it's just family, really.
Yeah. It's amazing how the tracks I visited over the weekend, it is family. And if it's not blood family, it's race family that are helping each other out, keeping these tracks open. And that's so important. It kind of amazes me. I live in my own little world sometimes when I go to Kalamazoo Speedway and I go to Galesburg Speedway, or I'll go visit South Bend or some of these tracks, and I take it for granted that, we have, 100 cars at Kalamazoo or whatever. And then when I think about all the tracks there are all over the country, and there's that many people involved in racing, it's a huge sport that a lot of people don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's so different from football and baseball and all that because it's just such a family and relationship kind of sport. Like you said, you can be racing out there, you can race your sister on the track, but when you get off, she's your sister, right?
If she's mad at me or not, she's still my sister.
That's right. Or if she beats you, it's like, okay, you're competitive out there, but that
Right.
has to stop when you get off the track. And yeah, I think the short track racing, I love NASCAR and ARCA and all that, but there's nothing better than going to a short track race in your neighborhood. So hopefully some people that are listening are going to go out to a track and take somebody with you that hasn't been there before.
Right.
So, yeah. So Stacy, how much of your success, because you've been a pretty successful driver, how much of that do you think is from your dad, just throwing you on the track and learning by doing? Or do you think it takes some kind of natural ability? What is it that makes a successful driver?
My dad he's won races. He's never done anything. He's never won a championship or anything. Never been that successful. But when he threw us out there at 16, that's like what we did. Like even at 16, 2 years later, I was a champion. Like it didn't take much. I'm not sure. I guess you have to have the drive to want to do it. Like you have to be all in or not in. You have to be focused because
I think it's like any other sport, really. You have, like you said, you have to be all in. It's either all or nothing. It's too expensive to just do it halfway out there. Yeah. So I'm pretty much out of my questions. Stacy, do you have anything else that you would like to share, either about your track or race team, or about yourself and your race, your racing career that you'd like to share with our listeners?
I don't have anything in particular.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate you being on the show tonight. Thank you for that. We've recorded it, so we will send that to you so you can share it if you want to. And I really want to thank you for the hospitality the other night. I walked up to Stacy. She had no idea who I was. And you would have thought that we'd been friends for a long time. Here, come here, get under the shade. Do you need a drink? And we had a great time visiting before she had to go pack the track. So thank you for that. I feel like I've made some new friends at Sycamore Speedway, and I will be back for sure to see you. Tell your sister and everybody I said hello. And any last words, Stacy?
I just want to thank you for having me on the show and hanging out with us on Saturday. Just hanging out under the tree.
Yeah. It was a good time. So, good luck the rest of the season. I'll be following you on your Facebook page and to see how you're doing. And if there's ever anything we can do for you here, we will. And hope to see you again soon, Stacy.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. So that was Stacy Doris. She is currently the leading in the points at Sycamore Speedway in Sycamore, Illinois. It's about an hour north of I-80. It's a nice little dirt track. They had a great crowd. They had great races. It was a well-run track. And I really enjoyed being there that night and meeting those ladies that raced there. We'll have some more of those ladies on in some future interviews. So thank you, everyone, for listening. We've recorded it. We're going to share it. And we'll see you next week. Thank you.